Happy Tuesday, everyone, or whenever it is that you are watching this. Just a few announcements before I get started with what I want to bring to us tonight. We finally did finish Romans chapter 14 last Thursday. So we are going to have Jessica, who is going to minister to us this Thursday. So we can all look forward to that for this Thursday. And then I feel there was something else that I wanted to announce. And of course, right now I can't remember. Maybe if I give me a second. This Thursday was Jessica. There is one more thing, but I actually don't want to announce that yet. So I'll pause on that one, but I feel like there was something else. But either way, we'll have Jessica this Thursday, who will be ministering to us all. So let's turn to Matthew chapter 5. As we all know, for the past few weeks now, we've had Pastor Ortiz and Pastor Haiti, who have been speaking to us about the fruit of the Spirit. And we recognize everything that we've been reading in reference to the fruit of the Spirit has all to do with us being led by the Spirit and filled with the Spirit. It's not this thing of we're praying for the fruit, and we're praying to be filled with the Spirit, to be yielded to the Spirit. And the evidence of those things is, of course, the fruit that they have been speaking to us about. So I want to read a scripture here, and I know it's something that I believe I actually had viewed with us maybe a few months back, and I just feel to read it again, and I want to give you an example of something. So this is found in Matthew chapter 5, and we're going to look at we'll start with verse 14, actually. If you remember, this is what has been labeled the Sermon on the Mount. This is when Jesus stood up and he began to proclaim what has been called the Beatitudes. Blessed are the meek, blessed are the poor in spirit. All of those that he began to profess. And remember, the significance of this is they were hearing Jesus really speak to the multitude, and there was this expectation, remember, that what he was going to be speaking about more had to do with power and might and provision and all of these things. And Jesus spoke about being meek. He spoke about being poor in spirit. He spoke about humility. These are the things that he has spoken about. So this was much different than what they were expecting. But as we know, it is truth, and this is how we are called to be. So I want to read Matthew chapter 5, and I'm going to start at verse 16 here. And it says, "Let your light shine before men in such a way that they may see your good deeds and moral excellence." And the Amplified says, "And recognize and honor and glorify your Father who is in heaven." I'll read it again. "Let your light shine before men in such a way that they may see your good deeds and moral excellence, and recognize and honor and glorify your Father who is in heaven." So when we have spoken in the past about good works, it's everything that we can imagine: giving to the poor, having a good heart, being compassionate, all of these things. And Jesus is specifically saying, let your light shine before men, not so that they in turn glorify you, but that they glorify the Father as they see the work of his Spirit on the inside of you. And everything we read in the Word is what not everything. Obviously, everything we have to read in context and in perspective, but specifically this, we are able to apply to our lives, and we should be examining the very Word against our lives. I'm going to tell you an experience that I had recently at my job, and it's important for us to be weighing our lives at all times. and we've spoken about this, us serving the Lord is not about how we behave and how we operate when we were in church together on Sunday and Thursday and Monday. We spoke about this even when it comes to our praise and our posture during our praise and as our time of reverence before the Lord. I'm not expecting you to be standing up and glorifying the Lord if it isn't what you are doing at home. It should be what we are doing at home. It should be what we are doing when we come and we gather together. Same goes for our time of prayer. I'm not expecting you to stand boldly and pray on Monday nights during prayer fellowship if you're not praying at home. We should be praying at home. We should be coming together and praying on Monday during our prayer fellowship. This is a lifestyle. It isn't I don't know a good example, a movie or something that we cut. We start and stop when the cameras go on when we were in church. This is how we ought to behave and be all our lives, because the Father is always watching us. So I've explained, I think, a bit of what I do for my job, and if I haven't, or if I haven't explained clear enough, I manage our supply chain and operations, right? I'm the director of those responsibilities and those teams within my organization. So with it, it's a lot of responsibility, but it's so vast. There's many different things that I can be doing on a given day. But I have vendors that report into me, our freight forwarders. That's the carriers, or the people that broker our cargo coming from, say, China, putting it onto a boat or onto a plane, and then bringing it into our DC. So that's part of what I do, and our vendors, of course, that we purchase our product from overseas. I'm the direct one responsible for the purchasing, compliance, negotiating, all that. So a large part of my job can be negotiating, and it can be having meetings where I'm negotiating with our vendors or our freight forwarders, anybody who's trying to do business with us. And being in business, there are certain tactics and strategies that you use. They are required. It's what you do in order to be able to operate in business successfully. There are certain things that you just know how you have to behave and what you have to do. And I'm going to give you two examples. So I've been meeting with freight forwarders. Again, those are the people that are responsible for taking possession of the cargo, and assigning them to an ocean boat, a carrier, or putting them on a plane, whatever instructions I give. And they basically broker it. They handle like the in-between guy, and they get paid for doing so. So I've been meeting with freight forwarders. I have already a freight forwarder, but I've been meeting with new ones just to kind of see if I'm getting the best rates, kind of what you would do with car insurance, for example. So my tactic, especially when I'm meeting with new suppliers or new vendors, I am very serious. I barely show any emotion. If they are trying to get, to say a joke or ask personal questions to kind of get me to soften myself so they can see my personality and try to give their pitch, I don't give anything. Very serious, very short. Let's get to the point here. That's just how I operate. It would probably be very interesting for a lot of you to see how I operate and things that I do in those type of meetings. You probably wouldn't recognize me, or maybe you would. I don't know. Maybe you would. I don't know. But anyway, so that's my posture. And I was meeting with a freight forwarder on Friday, and that was the posture that I took. You could see he was trying his best to be friendly and nice and get in somewhere before he gave his pitch. Gave nothing. Very serious. Letting it then begin to ask pointed questions about his business. And part of I'll say the strategy, is ask questions very quick, very, very tough, kind of throw them off of their game. Remember, they're trying to acquire my business. I'm trying to determine if they're the best person to acquire my business, and if they are, I'm trying to get them to offer me the best price and the best service as possible. Give the allure that I'm a very, 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 very big business so they can be hungry for it. Don't give them information that I feel that they shouldn't have. And dominate the meeting. Be the strongest presence in the meeting. And those are all the things that I'm used to doing, that I can do, and I'm skilled at doing because it's what I've done throughout my career. So I'm continuing to operate this way in the meeting and throwing him off of his game to the point of which I saw that he was starting to get flustered. And that's exactly the way I want him to be. I want him to be flustered, his whole pitch and how he was trying to come. I want that to all be gone. And I got him exactly where I wanted him to be. And then once I saw that, then I can begin to ask the real questions that I want to know that perhaps he wouldn't have answered previously. So I'm asking all the questions, coming from here, coming from there. And at one point during the meeting, I looked at his face and I could see that he was rattled, uncomfortable, but trying to compose himself. But you could tell I had him where I wanted him to be. And for a second, I thought to myself, is this how you should be behaving? Is this the character that should be on display? And I, of course, try to be sincere with you all. As the thought came into my mind, I thought about it and quickly dismissed it because I was in work mode. I was in director mode. I was being who I needed to be. But the thought was still present there, and I let it go. I had another meeting maybe a couple of days later, and this meeting was with another one of my vendors. But this wasn't a new vendor. This is a vendor that I've had, well, newish. It was a UPS. It was a rep from UPS. And I haven't been completely happy with their service to date. And I told them we need to have a meeting. So he came in, and he brought in one of his managers in with him. And I already knew how this meeting was going to be as well. And if you thought how I was describing the other meeting was tough with a new vendor, this meeting was going to be even tougher because I was displeased with their service. And I wanted to show him that. I wanted him to be rattled. I wanted him to even be afraid and uncomfortable. And that's exactly what I did. And I want to be clear about something. I'm never disrespectful. I don't raise my voice. I don't hurl insults. I do everything but that, where you get exactly how upset I am, and I get you to a point where I see you turning red in the face, and that's exactly where I want you to be. Again, during this meeting, thought in my mind, is this the character that you should be displaying? Is this the type of environment that you should have? And this time, as the thought came in my mind in the meeting, I allowed it to remain a bit longer than the first time. And again, I'll read the scripture that I just read. Let your light shine before men in such a way that they may see your good deeds and moral excellence and recognize and honor and glorify your Father who is in heaven. I'm going to ask us all a question in these meetings that I just explained, and I know I didn't go into vivid detail, but hopefully you're getting the picture of how these meetings went. Do you think these men, these colleagues, these vendors, these business partners left that meeting saying to themselves, wow, that was definitely a man of God. Wow, there was something different about him. Or did they leave those meetings exactly the way I wanted them to leave, with the thought, that guy knows his stuff. He's tough. We can't take advantage of him. I don't know, whatever other thoughts, because that's what I wanted them to leave with. I wanted them to leave with that attitude of that I won't take any nonsense and I'm going to make you feel uncomfortable. That's what I wanted, and that's what I successfully was able to do. But is that allowing my light to shine? Now, some may say you still have a job to do. That's your responsibility. This is what you do. Yeah, so we've spoken about something as we've been doing our Bible studies, and we talk about growth. There are things that perhaps at one point in your life, it's all good. There's no problem here. And as you continue to grow, and as you continue to pray that prayer, Lord, open up my eyes, search my heart. As that happens, the Lord does exactly that. And things that perhaps you had no issue with before and were comfortable with before, perhaps you come to recognize there's really no fruit in what I'm doing there. I'm not being the light. I'm not being the salt of the earth that God has called me to be. Perhaps there's some things that he's putting his finger on. And I express that to you because some of you may be listening and saying, I don't see a problem with that. Well, I'm telling you, there's going to have to be a change there. I recognize it and I see it. You know, you guys have all heard about what is taking place with tariffs, right? I'm an importer. That's what I'm directly responsible for at my job, part of the supply chain. I'm importing all of our product. So I'm directly being hit by these tariffs. And my responsibility with executive management is to form a strategy of what we are going to do to be able to manage it. Without going into specifics, there are many strategies that we can have in order to manage this. Some are less integrative than others. What am I suggesting to executive management? What approach am I taking? Am I taking the approach that considers our bottom line, considers our margins, and that's it? Or am I taking the approach that considers our integrity, our moral excellence, is what I just read there just now. We are men and women of God all day, every day, and we have a responsibility to examine ourselves. Spirit lead me, Spirit fill me. That way the evidence in our lives are the fruits of the Spirit. These aren't just words on a page. It has to be life. We have to be examining ourselves as mature men and women of God. And this is the responsibility I have as well. So now I have to go to the Lord in prayer, recognizing my responsibility for my organization, recognizing what I am responsible for, recognizing that I am responsible for getting results, getting good results. I am responsible for ensuring that my business is not taken advantage of, but I am responsible for doing all of these things as a man of God first, then as a businessman. I pray that makes sense to you all, and I pray that this ministered to you all, and we are all considering our lives every day. Consider the actions that we take. Are our lives modeled after this world, the strategies and actions of this world, and what this world suggests is the best way of doing things? Or is it aligned with the Spirit of God? Or is it aligned with what His Word says, how we should behave? That's our responsibility to consider, to examine on a daily basis. Love you all. We look forward to seeing Jessica on Thursday as she ministers to us. God bless you. Have a great week.